Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the next part of our Digital and Data webinar. I'm Eric Brown. I'm CTO at the Energy Systems Catapult, and I'm also Director for the ARIS program. And it's my great pleasure to be chairing this session this afternoon. Earlier, we had a very interesting discussion around the national perspective on responding to the challenges of net zero from using data and digital approaches. And we saw that there were a number of very important points raised, and there was actually a very high degree of agreement and recognition of the important role that data and digitalization are going to play. One of the other key points that emerged was the point of scale and the fact that it's the relationship between local, regional, and national that's really going to make this successful. And now, for the rest of the webinar, we are going to turn our attention specifically to the local perspective. And before turning to our speakers, who we have with us today, who are going to bring their perspectives from their local communities and the things that they're doing there to move forward to address the net zero challenge. What I wanted to do is just describe a little bit of the work that we're doing in the ARIS program, which seeks to respond to some of these challenges and to open up some of these opportunities, some of the things that we've heard described in the earlier session. So in the ARIS program, we are focused on supporting the Prospering for the Energy Revolution challenge and addressing the challenges and the opportunities of achieving net zero, and importantly, and a point again that was raised earlier, doing that in a way that delivers not just climate benefit, but also economic and social benefits to the communities in which we live. So we're very clearly aligned with the thinking and approaches that were being discussed in the earlier session. We also share the belief that we've heard expressed about the role and the importance, the criticality, in fact, of data and digital. And one aspect of our work in this area is the development of a toolkit to help local authorities and their partners to design and deliver integrated, smart local energy systems, which we think are a key part of the journey to net zero. So from our conversations with local authorities and others, we've developed what we refer to as our roadmap for what the toolkit will aim to do. And I want to share with you some of that today. So basically, the illustration is of the journey that we think a local authority might want to take as they address the question of how do I approach the complex task of defining, designing, and delivering a smart local energy system. And our intention is to start at the beginning with indicated here with number one, which is all about understanding what your motivations and aspirations are trying to do. So we would seek to help the local authority develop a tailored view of how they want to implement or approach the direction of travel that they wish to follow. With that understanding, it's then possible to explore and build understanding of the local assets and systems that you have to work with. In other words, you build an understanding of the resources that you have to bring to bear and what you're trying to achieve. With that, you then can look at the technology options that are available to you. How would they be deployed to serve the purpose that you are trying to achieve? As shown here, number 3. On to number 4, with the knowledge of the technologies, you can then understand how you integrate them together to realize systems that are going to deliver the types of value propositions that will be valuable to the community that you're seeking to serve. Moving on to 5, you now know what the system might look like. So how do you build the business case around that and do that so that you have not just a business case, but a good business case which is viable. Moving on to 6, with the understanding of what your business case might look like, what are the appropriate ways of financing what it is that you want to achieve? What are the financial instruments that you could bring to bear? And then from there, you can identify and contract with the right partners to achieve the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. And moving into the 8th step in this program or this journey, who are the decision makers that are going to be needed to be brought to the table, to the same sense of understanding to which these propositions are going to appeal. And then finally, how do you upskill your team and stakeholders to have a shared understanding of what's been of the proposition and how it's going to be delivered. So I would argue that here we've seen, or in the journey that we're proposing to use our toolkit to support, we think it aligns. I would say that it aligns with at least some of the comments and discussion from this morning, and certainly does seek to be supportive of it. So with that very brief summary, I think the next thing that we were going to propose to do was to have a quick poll, if I'm correct. And so Fabio, if you could bring up the poll, please. And here, what we're trying to do is to get some insight into. I know this has been a very brief overview of what this journey looks like, but if you could give us your views about about this journey, whether you think it does serve well or could describe well what needs to be achieved. And then there's a second question, which will look at the kinds of priorities that you have for projects you're undertaking now. So I'll give you a few minutes to address these two questions. First of all, around the journey that we're proposing and whether that are the right kinds of steps to be taken. And then secondly, what kind of projects are being followed. Now, I'm a little concerned that one of two things is happening. Either I scampered through the list, through the journey a bit too quickly, or the poll's not working.
Eric, I don't have
we're starting to get some results now. Yeah. I'll give it just a few minutes. There seems to be best support around building evidence, whether it's for systems integration or around business cases, and this is consistent with with the insights that we've been getting from our conversations with local authorities and others. And in terms of the types of projects, again, some consistency there around trying to build evidence. And here we go. Retrofit seems to be definitely the leader, and then questions around heating, EV charging, and other types of, and then some generation and storage as well. So we have some interesting insights there, which are helpful as we continue to develop the toolkit over the coming months. I guess what I would emphasize is that we don't envisage that the toolkit's going to be able to solve all the data and digital challenges that we've been hearing about, but because that's going to require substantial effort from a number of stakeholders, it's going to require a great deal of collaboration and coordination across groups of people that have never had to work together before, in fact. However, we do want to include in the toolkit things like case studies that demonstrate impact of investing in digital technologies and what these can actually deliver. We want to include good practice guidelines for how to develop digital solutions and to engage with communities that own data that can be brought to bear in terms of implementing these solutions. And we want to provide insight about how to gain access to data and data sets that are going to be useful.